When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
This podcast contains adult themes and language, and some of the things that we discuss may be disturbing to some listeners. In this podcast, we discuss sexual assault, torture, race, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself.
We're going to get into the timeline.
On January 8th, 1994, a little more than 2 years later, after purchasing drugs from Junior, a man by the name of Hallie Cox discovered that he had, in fact, bought shavings of soap. Yeah, the two argued, and during the conflict, Junior killed the man.
Okay, so you cheated me and I get killed?
Yep.
So on May 5th, 1994, Junior was arrested. Wow, so it took a while for them to catch up to him, I guess. Junior was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He was 19 years old.
November 21st, 1994, he pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, second-degree murder. He received an 18-year sentence and spent nearly 14 years in state prison. According to his family, he was never the same after that.
On August 27th, 2007, Junior was released on parole and moved in with his sister, Nicole Dotson, in her apartment at Goodwill Village in Memphtown. It's Memphis, but again, in the rap songs, they got me.
Do they really? They say Memphtown?
Yes. 3-6 Mafia. Aren't they your favorite rap group?
Oh, yeah, right.
That's what I thought.
You do realize I'm 53 years old, right?
Yeah. I get all that. Ooh, 53. You know, they say that, I think I just read that women in their mid-50s or 54, mid-50s, that's when they hit their prime.
Ooh.
Get ready, Beth. So I digress. According to Nicole, Junior felt like no one in his family was there for him, and he held a grudge against their family because he believed they should have visited him more while he was in jail, and he expressed those feelings to her every day.
Junior began working with their father, Jessie Dotson Jr., as a painter, and he renewed his relationship with his brother Cecil, who worked as a maintenance man at an apartment building and rented a home on Leicester Street in Binghamton. But Junior's relationship with his brother was still full of conflict.
On January 29th, 2008, Junior, Cecil, and several other men were playing cards at Cecil's home. I imagine they were playing spades. It's a black game. After the card game, Junior stood up, put on Cecil's leather jacket, and began to walk out of the house. As Cecil tried to stop him, Junior drew a semi-automatic pistol and challenged his brother to take the coat back from him. I dare you.
Yikes. Cecil then followed his brother in his car to the Goodwill Village apartments in North Memphis, but eventually lost him. Although Cecil reported to police that his brother robbed and threatened him, Junior was not charged with the crime.
I wonder why that happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
In March 2008, 30-year-old Cecil's 6 children ranging in age from 12 years old to 2 months old, and Marissa Williams, Cecil's 27-year-old fiance and mother of 4 of his children, as we mentioned earlier, were living at the home on Leicester Street. They had been living in the home for 5 or 6 months.
On Saturday, March 1st, 2008, Jessie Sr., Jessie Jr., and William Waddell, also known as Fat, went to Cecil's Leicester Street home to watch a televised University of Memphis basketball game. Marissa Williams and 5 of the children were also home during this time, but Cecil's 6th child, 12-year-old Sierra Dotson, was spending the weekend at her mother's home.
Oh, boy. They were unable to watch the game because Cecil's television could not receive the broadcast. Jessie Sr. left Cecil's house around 6 or 6:30 p.m., and as he was leaving, he saw Cecil on the porch cleaning his grill and preparing to barbecue. He did not see Cecil or Jessie Jr. again that night, and never again saw Cecil alive. William Waddell, a.k.a. Fat, left Cecil's home at 10:30 or 11 p.m., and when he left, Cecil was still alive. Oh my God, so I'm just like picturing it. So the babies were asleep. I thought everybody was awake.
I think some of them were awake. Some of them were sleeping and some of them were awake.
Okay.
Probably the oldest one was still awake.
Mm-hmm.
So on Sunday, March 2nd, 2008, the next morning, Jessie Sr. stopped at Nicole's apartment to pick Junior up for work. He was not there, and Nicole did not know where he was. Jessie Sr. asked Nicole to tell Junior to contact him if he wanted to keep his job. Later that evening, Junior called Jessie Sr. and explained that he had not called because his girlfriend, Sheila Jones, had hidden his cell phone after they'd argued.
Okay. Junior did not explain why he had missed work. When Junior and Fat went to dinner that evening, he went to dinner after killing his family. That evening, Junior asked Fat if he wanted to pick up Cecil. Fat had called Cecil numerous times on March 2nd, but had not reached him, so they did not go by the Leicester Street house.
Little Sierra Dotson had also been trying to call her father, Cecil, on March 2nd. It was her 13th birthday, and she was supposed to do something with him, but they could not get in touch with him.
That's horrible.
I know.
On Monday, March 3rd, 2008, Junior rode to work with Jessie Sr. around 8 a.m., still acting totally normal, but they stopped diabolical. They stopped working at 11 a.m. due to rain. Later that same day, Junior called Jessie Sr., telling him that Nicole wanted him to drive by Cecil's house because the mother of Cecil's 2-year-old son, Cecil II, feared something was wrong.
Erica Smith had been unable to reach Cecil by telephone since the very early morning hours of Sunday, March 2nd, 2008, and no one had answered the door at the Leicester Street home when she knocked around 3 p.m. I believe she is the mother of Cecil II.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she knocked around 3 p.m. that day. She said that the door was partially open and the radio was playing, but she did not see anyone or hear the children, although she could see the television just inside the door and the photographs on the wall across from the door.
Okay. On the morning of March 3rd, Miss Smith discovered that Cecil had not shown up for work and that his relatives had not heard from him. She still could not reach him by telephone. When she called Fat at work numerous times expressing her concerns, he told her to call the police. She took his advice and called the police in the early evening and waited outside the Leicester Street home for them to arrive.
She must have known there was something wrong. Otherwise, she probably would have gone inside, I would think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Officer Randall Davis arrived first. As he walked in the front door, he could smell the dead bodies. The storm door was closed, but the interior door was partially open, and he could see a person's foot lying on the floor inside. Entering the front door, Officer Davis discovered 4 adult bodies, later identified as Cecil, Marissa Williams, Hollis Seals, and Shindri Roberson. All appeared to have sustained multiple gunshot wounds. Officer Davis did not check for vital signs because it was obvious to him that they were deceased.
Officer Davis, along with two other officers, continued throughout the house, searching for the survivors and the perpetrators, while another officer secured the front door. Officer Davis noticed blood throughout the house, but none of it appeared to be fresh. Officer Davis saw someone in the hallway bathroom and discovered 9-year-old CJ Cecil Jr. in the bathtub with a knife stuck in his head. Officer Davis first believed that CJ was deceased, but then noticed the child's eye twitch. After alerting others that he had found a survivor, Officer Davis continued clearing the home.
In a bedroom on the left side of the hallway, Officer Davis discovered 4-year-old Samario, who was deceased. In another bedroom, Officer Davis discovered 2-year-old Cecil II and 5-year-old Cedric, both of whom appeared deceased to Officer Davis. Meanwhile, another officer located 2-month-old Sanaya, who was still alive, and carried her out of the house. The officers exited just as Memphis Fire Department personnel arrived, and Officer Davis let them know a survivor had been found in the bathroom.
As firefighter Jason Vosberg approached the house, he could smell the blood in the air. He later described it as a thick, spoiled smell like it had been there a while. Firefighter and EMT Daniel Moore was instructed to check the adult victims for signs of life, but he did not actually touch them because it was obvious to him that they were deceased. He described the blood as definitely cold. Police believe the bodies had been in the home for approximately 40 hours.
When Mr. Vosberg and a paramedic entered the first bedroom, they discovered that although Cecil II was deceased, Cedric was still alive, so they carried him outside to an ambulance. During this time, Mr. Vosberg was informed that another deceased victim was in the other bedroom. When he returned inside, Mr. Vosberg and Mr. Moore were summoned to the bathroom, where firefighter Herbert Henley was attending to CJ.
There were cuts on CJ's face and a blade sticking out of the top of his head. It's been often referred to as a sawzall blade?
Sawzall blade.
What is that?
It's just a blade that goes into a reciprocating saw. So I think that the reason why they thought it was a sawzall blade was because it was just a blade. It had no handle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there were broken knives found throughout the house.
Yeah, like all the handles were broken off the knives for some reason. Yeah. And the doctor who removed the blade said it was a steak knife, or it was a blade from a steak knife. But I think because it was just a blade, that at first they thought it was a sawzall blade.
Okay. Take it away, Beth.
Mr. Moore later described the bathroom as a mess with blood everywhere. According to Mr. Moore, when he and Mr. Vosberg entered the bloody bathroom, CJ, quote, turned his head, and the next thing we saw was one of the most horrible things I've ever seen. It was a knife stuck, embedded in his skull, and it was just stuck there. And it absolutely is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. It's horrifying to think about, and there's pictures of like the X-rays online. It's just crazy this little boy survived.
Yeah, poor little guy.
I can't remember if I mentioned this later in the episode or not, but on the trial, it came out that the little boy said, "Uncle Junior, I love you." Like, don't do this to me, and he did it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's horrifying. In addition to the embedded knife, Mr. Moore observed puncture wounds on CJ's abdomen and multiple superficial cuts to his neck. He also had multiple defensive wounds on his hands. They removed CJ from the bathtub and transported him via ambulance to the hospital.
The dead were Cecil Dotson and his fiancée, Marissa Renee Williams, Hollis Seals and his girlfriend, Shindri Roberson, Samario Dotson, age 4, and Cecil Dotson II, age 2. The children who were still alive and taken to the hospital were Cecil Dotson Jr., or CJ, age 9, Cedric Dotson, age 5, and Sanaya Dotson, age 2 months.
Jesus Christ. Well, now we're done with the timeline. Let's get into the investigation. I learned a lot about this case from the first 48. So there's this episode of the First 48 is on YouTube, and there's videos of the trial and stuff. But I wanted to give props to the First 48 because most of these cop shows don't do a fair job investigating and documenting these cases. They use coded racist ass language to describe the perpetrators and victims like thug, prostitute, lowlife, etc. Some police departments they follow on the First 48 are better than others. The Oklahoma guys, they're fucking trash. But the Memphis, Miami, and New Orleans homicide detective cases do a really good job. And I think it's because they have people of color, including Black women, on these police forces. And they're just more knowledgeable and sympathetic to the circumstances surrounding the crimes. Victims and victims' families are definitely treated with more compassion and understanding at the good cities that I mentioned. And I can't say the same for the mostly white homicide departments that I've seen on other police departments or homicide cases on other crime shows. So I just had to say that.
Yeah. So Sergeant Anthony, also known as Tony Mullins of the Homicide Bureau, described the Leicester Street crime scene as horrific and the worst he had ever worked. All of the adult victims had sustained multiple gunshot wounds, and all except Mr. Seals had been shot at least once in the leg. 2 guns were used in the shooting, a 9mm and a .380 caliber, although neither gun was ever found.
But officers located spent bullets and shell casings in the living room, and when officers moved a jacket on the love seat, they found a sealed Ziploc bag that contained additional 9mm and .380 spent shell casings. Sergeant Mullins believed that the person or persons responsible for the crimes had collected the spent shell casings after the shootings, intending to remove them from the scene, but they did not.
Sergeant Mullins believed that all of the adult victims' bodies were moved or staged after the shooting. Cecil's body was located in a kneeling position in front of the sofa with a bag of marijuana in his left hand. Cecil had sustained several gunshot wounds, including several to the front of his body, one to his neck, one to the bottom of his foot, and several to his lower legs. Fibers collected from Cecil's chin and mouth were consistent with a pillow having been placed over his face when he was shot, and police found a pillow in the living room through which a bullet had passed.
Man. Sergeant Mullins believed that Cecil was likely facing his attacker when the first shot was fired because Cecil had several gunshot wounds to the front of his body, which he would not have sustained had he been kneeling with his torso resting on the sofa at the time of the shooting. Sergeant Mullins also believed that the bag of marijuana had been placed in Cecil's hand because Cecil would have dropped it had he been holding it, being shot multiple times or attempting to flee or defend himself.
Yeah. Shindri Roberson's body was in a seated position on the floor with her back to the sofa, her legs extended, and her head to the side. Her shirt was pulled up, exposing her breasts, and her pants were pulled down, exposing her lower body from her waist to her knees. A clear plastic bag containing crack cocaine was found on the outer portion of her vagina.
So, this is just wild.
It's
so he's
weird,
planting drugs. Usually the cops, Dave Chappelle has this like joke that he's made in the past about how the cops will get to a scene where there's black people and just sprinkle some crack on them so they can arrest them. But usually that's something the cops do, not that you're supposed to do to your family. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm like, why did he do all this? I'm
so elaborate, like it's so extra.
Yeah. It's weird.
Moving along, Sergeant Mullins concluded that Ms. Roberson's body also had been staged after the shooting and that she had been pulled from the sofa to the floor near the time of or after her death, and her clothing then altered. Little blood was found on the floor beneath her body, but a nearby sofa cushion was stained with very thick coagulated blood. Sergeant Mullins described it as consistent with the type of blood loss that would occur from a gunshot wound like the one Miss Robertson sustained to her leg.
Ms. Robertson's pants were also saturated with blood, and bullet holes in her pants corresponded with the location of the gunshot wounds to her legs, indicating that the pants were covering her legs when she was shot and then were pulled down afterwards. The bag of crack cocaine also appeared to be part of the staging, as it was only slightly touching her and appeared to have been placed on her body.
Sergeant Mullins believed that Marissa Williams' body, too, had been positioned after the shooting. Ms. Williams' body was located on the floor, slumped over onto Ms. Robertson, with her legs positioned across Miss Robertson's legs. He pointed out, however, that the carpet was bloodstained on the side opposite of the way she was leaning. Additionally, Ms. Williams' legs were lying across Miss Robertson's legs, indicating that Ms. Williams' body had been staged after Miss Robertson's body had been positioned on the floor. So he just kept going.
Yep.
with the staging.
Yep, yeah. Sergeant Mullins testified that Hollis Seals' body was located across from the front door and near the door connecting the kitchen to the living room. His pants were pulled down to below his knees. A cup and a wallet were found near his body, as was a purse with the contents inside, which was later identified as belonging to Ms. Williams.
Although Sergeant Mullins believed that Mr. Seals was shot in the area where he was found, he believed that Mr. Seals' clothing and body were altered after the shooting. Based on the bloodstains, the distance between them, and the location of Mr. Seals' legs, one atop the other, Sergeant Mullins believed that Mr. Seals' body may have originally been lying in one area and then was rolled from that area when his pants were pulled down and his wallet was removed. Man, this guy is doing the most.
Yeah, what the hell? Sergeant Mullins surmised that a perpetrator in the living room could have trapped the children by standing in the doorway of the living room. Although doors leading to the outside of the home were located in the laundry room and the master bedroom, to reach those doors from the hall bathroom or from bedrooms 1 and 2, the children would have been required to walk through the living room. In addition, the door to the laundry room was secured by a tied cord and appeared as if it had not been used in a while. Most of the windows in the home had bars.
The children had been beaten with boards and stabbed with knives. Did you hear that? The children were beaten with boards and stabbed with knives. All of these injuries were inflicted with wooden boards and kitchen knives the perpetrator had found in the home. Officers found bloodstained and broken pieces of wood in various places, including the hallway, the bathroom, and the bedrooms. And in total, officers found 5 knife blades throughout the home, including the blade that was lodged in CJ's head.
Yeah, and like we said, for some reason, he removed the handles from the knife blades. Not sure why.
Fingerprints?
Yeah, but then he just left them there.
Yeah. Then I was also thinking maybe the knife broke?
Yeah, but all 5 of them?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just weird.
There's a lot of strange things in this case.
There is.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
On March 4th, 2008, Jr. was interviewed by the police. He was not under arrest and at the time was only considered a possible witness.
Mm-hmm.
And he floated the idea to the cops that this was a gang hit by the Gangster Disciples, which is a gang that he said that Cecil was a member of and that he was in some trouble with them. And so thinking back on the crime scene and the staging, I'm like wondering, you know, if was he trying to stage it to look like a gang hit?
That's the impression I was under.
But I don't know how that made it look like a gang hit.
I mean, the level of violence, the fact that there was drugs found at the scene,
Maybe.
and on the episode of the First 48, somebody was mentioning the term blackout, which means when a gang orders the hit of somebody they're mad at and the entire family. So
Right.
I don't know, maybe that's what a blackout is supposed to look like. And
Maybe.
That's
I
what
don't
he
know.
was. That's what he was
Trying to
doing.
make it look like, yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say that on the First 48, it's one of my favorite shows, but this is how you know the person did it, is if they bleep out their face or not. And in the first 5 minutes, they interviewed this guy and he was not bleeped out. We were like, he did it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
He's
that.
the one who did it. Yeah. So he went into the police station and gave this bullshit ass story to the cops. Let me tell you about it. On March 5th, 2 days after he had undergone surgery, the police visited the 9-year-old CJ, that's the boy who had the knife in his head, in the hospital to see if there were anything that he could recall from that night. They found him in and out of consciousness. He was cursing. He was talking crazy, screaming out names, including Cassandra and Roderick. At some point, officers decided to send Pat Lewis of the Child Advocacy Center to the hospital with Lieutenant Mason to talk to CJ.
The Black female homicide detective, Sergeant Caroline Mason, said his eyes were swollen shut. She asked him if he could recall what happened, and she said he started to tear up, and he said they knocked on the door and his mama let them in. Then he said the grown-ups stood in a circle in the living room fighting and arguing. She said after that, the little boy who homicide detectives described as a diamond to the investigation began to hyperventilate and would not say another word. So they backed off and waited for tips to roll in.
They put out a $30,000 reward to anyone that had any information that led to an arrest. Police pursued gang leads, specifically the gangster disciples, as it had been suggested that they may have ordered a blackout, as I mentioned before, a hit to kill an entire family. During the investigation, the entire Dotson family was put into protective custody, including Jessie.
Yeah.
Members of the gangster disciples reportedly became angry when they learned that the gang had been implicated in the murders of women and children.
When the family was put into protective custody, Junior held a gun to his head and threatened suicide. He stated that he did not want to return to jail, that they were trying to pin the offenses on him, and that he was not going to jail for something he did not do. I guess he thought that the officers were coming for him instead of coming to put them in protective custody. But officers told him that they were not there to arrest him, but they were placing the family in protective custody. And then I guess he stopped.
This guy's a real piece of work.
Yeah.
Okay. On March 7th, 2008, officers received a telephone call from a nurse at the hospital informing them that CJ was awake and rational and that the police needed to come talk to him. Eventually, CJ recovered a little bit and he told police his uncle Junior, Jessie Denton, was responsible.
And on March 8th, 2008, Jessie Dotson Jr. confessed after CJ identified him, Uncle Jr., as the lone attacker. He said he shot his brother, he shot the women, and then he stabbed the kids. He started to tell Lieutenant Armstrong this, and then the lieutenant let him talk to his mom.
He told his mother everything. He told her his brother grabbed a shotgun, then set it down, and that's when he just started shooting at everybody in the room. She said, what happened to the babies? And she's holding his hand, and he's holding hers, and he's got his head down on the interrogation room table. She said, what happened to the babies? And he said, they got stabbed. And she asked him why, and he mumbled, it was because they saw it.
The lieutenant was baffled that someone could have so much rage to do that to adults, let alone kids.
Same. I'm baffled too.
Me too. Junior's mom held him and told him she loved him. She lost 2 sons, one to murder and the other to prison, and several grandchildren. And still, she held him and she told him she loved him.
Yeah, pretty crazy. The love of a mother, and feel really bad for the entire family. I mean, the ripple effects of this loss are extreme. After the murder, the community built a memorial for the family. It was full of teddy bears. Even people who didn't even know the family stopped by to give their condolences and drop off cards and teddy bears at the site. And the police, when they announced that they apprehended Dotson, usually cops are like excited when they catch a perp, but and when they get to announce it. But the looks on all of their faces during that press conference was just complete sadness that they even had to be there.
Yeah, and that memorial at the end of the last 48 episode, there's a lady there, and she didn't even know the family, and she was crying. I teared up.
I teared up too. I mean, even talking about the case, it's a tough one. We're trying to have fun, but this is a tough one.
But this one is a tough one. Yeah, it's hard to joke around.
Yeah. Sorry if you were looking for huge laughs. We're doing our best.
We're trying
to tell the story and enjoy ourselves. So let's get into it. Is a tough one. Let's get into the arrest.
All right. Yay.
Yay. Justice.
Dotson was arrested on March 28th, 2008, when he confessed to the crimes in the police station. Jesse was charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder. He did not plead guilty. He went to trial.
Son of a bitch. Did he not think that they were going to convict him?
Yep, that's what he thought.
Let's see. The cross-examination by the DA was fucking fire. When I say give this guy because oh man, we'll link it up to the show because it was good. I don't usually compliment DAs. Usually they are trash, but this time the DA got it right and they put on a great case. Jesse testified that he heard shots fired in the house and he jumped under the bed to save himself. He knew his family was in the house. He knew they were dead. And a 2-month-old baby, a 2-year-old child, a 4-year-old child, a 5-year-old child, and a 9-year-old child were in the house. But he never called his family. The DA was like, "You never called your mama? You never called the police?" And he was like, "No, sir. I feared for my life." And then the prosecution blew up photos that police took of the home showing just how close a fucking phone was to these dead bodies. And he said that he saw the phone, he just didn't bother to pick it up, and that he left the house Saturday night and went home and went to bed like nothing happened. Yikes. And he went to work on Monday, the day the bodies were discovered.
In his testimony, Jesse Dotson claimed gang members were responsible for the attack and that he was innocent. He claimed that he was threatened when he was interviewed, and that's why he confessed. But CJ told jurors in his testimony that Uncle Junior attacked him and that he tried to fight off his uncle before ending up in the bathtub with a kitchen knife embedded in his head.
Shout out to that little boy for being brave enough to face his uncle and testify in court.
Yeah.
Authorities said that after a day of drinking, Jesse Dotson shot and killed his brother, Cecil Dotson, in the early morning hours of March 2nd, 2008. I was wondering if there were substances involved in this. Sounds like there were.
Yeah.
He then went after everyone else in the house with 2 guns, boards, and several knives to eliminate witnesses. Then Junior fled from the house by riding off on a child's bicycle.
Yeah, that's the only funny part in this whole story.
He took the bike and rode off into the sunset like a true badass. Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. My spirit needed it.
On October 11th, 2010, Jessie Dotson Jr. Let me start again.
Oh, man. Okay.
On October 11th, 2010, Jessie Dotson Jr. was convicted on all counts. The jury took 90 minutes to convict.
Sorry.
No, that's good. And on October 12th, 2010, the 9 women, 3-man jury chosen in Nashville and sequestered in Memphis deliberated less than 2 hours before agreeing on the sentences. Defense attorneys had asked for life in prison without parole. Dotson instead received 6 death penalties, and on November 8th, 2010, Dotson received an additional 120 years in prison.
Hey, our justice system doesn't always get it right, but when they do,
They do.
they really do.
We off?
30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes!
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
So, where are they now? In 2013, Dotson's conviction was upheld on appeal. As far as we can tell, he is still in prison awaiting the death penalty. An April 2017 article mentioned that he was still serving his time.
Ida Anderson, CJ, Cedric, and Sanaya's maternal grandmother took custody of the surviving children after the attack. In an interview at the time, Ida Anderson said, "We are in counseling. It's hard. We're making adjustments. It's hard, but we'll get through it. With God's help, we will get through."
There's probably a lot of church music
involved,
playing in their house. Yeah. Amen. Anyway, thank goodness Cecil is alive and well. That's CJ. I heard him on a radio interview, and he remembers everything from when he was 9 years old. And gave a really detailed interview. And he looks all right. He sounds all right. He's an adult now. And so that's a happier part of the story, that he's okay.
Yeah. And Cedric Dotson is also still alive. He's in high school.
Oh.
In an interview last year when he was still in middle school, he said that he plays basketball for his school, and he wanted to keep playing basketball in high school.
That's awesome. The littlest victim, Sanaya Dotson, was only 2 months old at the time of the crime. She's now 10. She does not remember the events, but does know about what happened. She practices ballet. She loves to garden and aspires to be a designer when she grows up, which is
and dope. She's cute as a button too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So that makes me smile. That's good.
Yeah. On a sadder note, Erica Smith, the mother of Cecil II, the baby who was killed in the attack, she was in a motor vehicle accident the same year in November of 2008.
Oh, wow.
And her neck was broken. And I couldn't find out how she's doing today. I did a bunch of Googling, and that was the only article I could find was about the car accident. So if you guys know anything about her, please let us know. I hope she's okay.
Yeah.
Because this is just too much tragedy for one family.
Oh my gosh. To say the least.
Yeah.
I'm hoping somebody gives us an update.
Yeah.
Detective Sergeant Caroline Mason of the Memphis Police Department has since been promoted to major. So that's pretty good news too.
Pretty cool. And I Googled her. In our story, she was a sergeant.
Yeah.
It was mentioned somewhere that she'd been promoted to lieutenant. And I was like, oh, she's a lieutenant now. So I wanted to get more information about that. And then I found out she'd been promoted to a major.
Cool.
And then I found a whole thread, people talking about how much they love her.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Did you see that too?
No, I didn't, but I just know I have the same feeling. She's my favorite lady police officer.
Yeah, they just love her.
Yeah, she's great. I want her. I want to meet her. maybe if we ever make it to CrimeCon, she'll be there and we can say hello.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So now we're going to get into what we believe made Mr. Dotson snap. I'll start. First off, I think when he got out of prison, he was never rehabilitated when he was in there. His anger just grew. He also didn't have a good relationship with his brother because he believed his brother snitched on him, which led to his 18-year sentence before. Dotson was poor, Black, and when jobs or universities or sports teams don't have their doors open, guess what? Gangs do. And that's, I believe, what led to his downfall. Now, some gang members in high places are able to get good lawyers, and then they don't have to, serve long prison sentences or whatever. But when you are affiliated with a gang and you get locked up, you have to remain affiliated to stay alive. Another thing I wanted to point out was it seemed like even though Dotson was a piece of shit, his mom still showed love for him all the way to the end, even up to his confession. So I just think shout out to that mother.
Yeah. So I don't know much about gangs, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I do know that kids who don't have much in the way of family or who are poor will turn to them as another family or as a way to make money selling drugs or something mm-hmm. like that. I couldn't find out a whole lot about this guy's early home life before he was a teenager. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it seemed like he had a loving mother. And his father later let him work with him in his painting job. Mm-hmm. So he was around mm-hmm. at least. Mm-hmm. But judging from how he behaved as a teenager, it seemed like he was a little shit. Yeah. Very difficult to control, actually totally out of control.
There you go.
And I didn't see mention anywhere that his siblings were like that. Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell if it had anything to do with his home life, or if he was just a bad kid. But if I were to guess, I would say he was a bad kid.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, and I can't help but think of my brother, who he was not as bad as Junior Dotson. Mm-hmm. He didn't kill us, but
oh, thank goodness! Then where would we be?
But he got into a lot of trouble as a teenager and made my parents' life hell.
Really?
And he had a perfectly normal home life with mm-hmm. loving parents. Mm-hmm. Of course, our family wasn't perfect, but it wasn't anywhere near bad. Mm-hmm. And my sister and I turned out okay. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Sometimes kids are just bad. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, it seemed like he resented the fact that his family didn't visit him enough or didn't do enough for him during the time that he was in jail. And this I also find suspect.
What?
The fact that he didn't feel that they did enough for him. Some people like this, again, thinking about my brother, mm-hmm. You can never do enough for them. Everything is always somebody else's fault. Mm-hmm. And they're pissed because maybe they didn't come like every day to visit him, mm-hmm. or they didn't come every weekend to visit him. Mm-hmm. And, maybe it was hard for them to do that. They had to work or whatever, but in any case, he was pissed about it, and he harbored a lot of bitterness towards them. And I think he was just pissed off at his family, and specifically his brother. Mm-hmm. And he just got angry one night over something really stupid, and he lost it. Yeah. And since he's a horrible person, once he'd killed his brother, he killed everyone else just because he didn't want to go back to jail. It's like the definition of like selfishness, like super duper selfishness.
Yeah, but it's insane to think that you killed one person, and if you kill everybody else too, you're not going to have to go to jail at some point.
That's just stupid.
Exactly. So now we're going to get into our takeaways, what we thought of this case. This is one of the saddest true crime cases I have ever come across in my entire black ass life. So many people were hurt, innocent people, babies. How can you kill an infant or your nephew after he told you that he loved you? And then hearing the prosecutor describe how the kids were beaten and sliced, and that Dotson, he testified that he never heard any babies screaming or crying. That was gut-wrenching to watch because he knew it was a lie. But even just telling the facts about the story is really hard. I think there are a lot of things to blame for this whole incident and the moment of these crimes taking place. I think it's fair to discuss after this episode prison reform, gun reform, criminal justice reform, poverty, education. All of those systems failed this entire family. I think it's very ironic that salmonella was found harmful to people and it was removed from the shelves immediately. But these problems that I just listed off remain unsolved. So it just seems so silly to me. I'm glad some of the babies survived and that they're thriving today, it sounds like. But one thing I wanted to point out was the bars on the windows, and that there was only one way in and out of the house. And the victims, the kids, they did not stand a chance. They couldn't have gotten out if they tried. I feel bad for the entire family and the entire community. Also, shout out to the detectives for investigating the shit out of this case relentlessly, even though they all said that, they'd never seen anything like this. Many of the officers couldn't sleep. I don't normally have very nice things to say about cops because I think they're messy hoes. But these guys did a great job. So thank you, Memphis Police Department.
Hip hop air horn.
Yes, hip hop air horn for y'all. Okay.
This is a really, really sad story. It makes my heart hurt thinking about all those babies. Yeah. They were just babies.
Yeah, they really were.
Yeah. And there's actually a lot of information about the crime that I found in court records, just a ton. Mm-hmm. We'll link those so you can read all the details if you want to. There's more than what we talked about here. There was so much that I had to cut it down. Mm-hmm. So if you want to read all the nasty details, they're there. Mm-hmm. But even though there was all this information about the crimes, mm-hmm. there was very little information about the people involved. Mm. Jessie Dotson Jr. doesn't have a wiki page.
What?
And I can't even figure out if he's been executed or not. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
But there's nowhere that says...
Where's the info?
Where's the info?
Where?
And I know very little about the victims or Dotson's early life. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't heard about this case before Marcus suggested it. Mm-hmm. I've heard all kinds of stuff about Chris Watts and the Watts family's homicide. The guy who killed his kids and his pregnant wife.
Oh,
but he's white.
The white guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Watts family homicide has a wiki page. So
already?
All up on that. Oh, yeah.
Already? Wow.
And the Leicester Street murders does not.
Wow. Beth, where can the people find us?
Our website is fruitloopspod.com, and we use Fruit Loops Pod for all of our social media.
This is a weekly podcast, and new episodes drop every Thursday. So until next time, look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there.
Listen to Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time podcast.
It's a fun show about weird stuff.
New episodes every Wednesday, eggheads. I'm Art.
And I'm Andy.
And Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Time is a podcast about conspiracies, the paranormal, UFOs, unsolved mysteries. We're going to be discussing the Kennedy assassinations.
Oh yeah, that's his nickname, Finger Banging Bob Lazar. Give me some aliens with some good frickin' spacecraft.
The whole enchilada.
The only thing bigger than Bigfoot's feet are our egos.
If you like simulation theory, ancient history, egghead science, and Mandela effect, that kind of stuff.
So check it out. New episodes every Wednesday. All the links you need on MrBunkersConspiracyTime.com.
And we'll see you in the bunker.
Do you enjoy science, spooky stories, and all things paranormal? We do too.
While we would love for most paranormal stories to be true, we are here to tell you that they probably aren't. But that doesn't make them any less fun to speculate about.
We are the Spooky Science Sisters podcast. In this podcast, we bring you bi-weekly discussions on possible scientific explanations behind the supernatural. Backed up by research articles and other credible sources, we do deep dives into things like archaeology and physics, and share in-depth discussions with topic experts.
Visit us at SpookyScienceSisters.com to listen to a couple of skeptics debunk some of your favorite alien encounters, cryptid sightings, and ghost stories with science, sass, and a significant amount of laughter.
Thank you, and stay spooky.